Cougar Sports Saturday.
It's complete and another touchdown!
Cougar Sports Saturday. A presentation of KSL Sports.
Left wing for three. He got it again!
BYU Sports Talk by Cougar fans for Cougar fans. Here are your hosts, Mitch Harper and Matt Baiamonte. On Utah's legacy home of the Cougars. KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM and 1160 AM.
Welcome back in. Happy Mother's Day weekend to all of you out there. And for the husbands, please tell me you're not out there running errands right now, grabbing flowers, doing who knows what. Get that? You tell me you're done, Mitch.
Yes, I'm done. I will admit, a teaser. Hopefully my wife's not listening. But there is a BYU theme to her gift tomorrow.
Oh,
so
interesting.
We'll talk about Mother's Day memories in BYU coming up a little bit later this show. But a little bit of a BYU tie to my wife's Mother's Day gift. I think she'll like it.
If you are out there scrambling for last-second things, we appreciate you being on board with us.
Are you done?
I'm done. Yeah.
Were you like 2 months ago?
No,
done?
not 2 months ago. Honestly, Mother's Day to me is sort of, I don't know, like the expectation of a gift on Mother's Day to me is getting ridiculous.
Is it bad, too, that sometimes when I think Mother's Day, I do forget sometimes my mom?
For sure. You're so focused on
the wife.
You're right.
Because the kids can't go to the store and actually get something.
Right.
Now, maybe they could fire up DoorDash and deliver a gift. I'm sure they'd be smart enough to do that. But I focus on what they're going to provide to my wife, and it's like, oh, my own mom. But
I will admit, it is one of the days that a gift can slip easily, because in my mind, I'm like, okay, I'm going to make breakfast, and I'm going to take the kids, and it's going to be an easy day, and we'll make dinner. And then you're like, oh, I guess there's an expectation for some sort of gift, too. How many days a year do we need where we have to give gifts?
I agree. We need to cut that in half. And you know who needs to cut giving away gifts too in half is Jake Retzlaff. He had 12 picks last season, and I'm making a joke.
That's a
Jake,
nice segue.
But Jake, I'll admit he probably wants to cut that in half himself. He had 12 giveaways last year. But the thing about Jake though is he did lead BYU to an 11-win season, and he was highly productive a season ago. But there's the feeling of wanting more. BYU wants to break through, win a Big 12 title, go to the playoff, and Jake's a big piece to BYU reaching those heights. Aaron Roderick, BYU offensive coordinator, he was on our sibling station, the KSL Sports Zone, earlier this week with JJ and Alex. He talked about some of the underrated skills that Jake has that not enough people talk about.
One thing that people don't see a lot of, because it's not always obvious, is how often he gets us into the right play. We give him a lot of freedom. There's a lot of calls that are really 2-play calls and get us into the right one. There's in some cases it's 3-play calls, get us into the right play. And, sometimes it's just maybe a 4-yard gain on a run play, but he just avoided a disaster by getting us into that run play to make 4 yards, which, keeps you on schedule for the next play. So there's a lot there that he does a really good job with, and I think in his senior year, we're going to be able to take that to another level because of his experience now, and there's not a lot of defense he hasn't seen at this point. So I think that you're going to see him just get us into a lot of good plays, and I think that's going to lead to more points.
I like to hear that A-Rod trusts him to have him make, this is a trendy word in football, but audibles. In this particular case, it's, hey, here's a couple plays, get to the line of scrimmage and figure out what you think is best. I like to hear that because I think offenses are the most dangerous when they're unpredictable. And the only way to be unpredictable is when you're not doing personnel groupings on every play, and this is the way it has to be. I like that A-Rod trusts him enough to be flexible because that's going to be important. A lot of these great teams in college football in recent years, there's one common thread. Great quarterback play and they have the trust of their offensive coordinators to make decisions. So that's going to be very interesting to watch, Jake's ability to decipher defenses in the fall.
And it's a common thread between a commentary of what succeeded with Aaron Roderick's best quarterbacks at BYU, Zach Wilson and Jaron Hall. He had complete trust in those guys to the point where those guys had complete command of the offense in their final seasons at BYU. And, Jake's got the runway to operate. There's no pressure behind him. Like, this is his program. He is the face of the program. For the first time, he's going to go into a season opener where you are the guy and be celebrated as such. We talked about this a lot. I feel like we were the only people that kind of almost felt bad for Jake, where it was like, you get these starts and no one can celebrate you because it's got to be
Gary.
It's Gary. Keaton's fine. He's fine. Everything's fine. And then
Think about after the SMU win.
Yeah, oh yeah.
A big win, which ended up being a lot bigger at the end of the year than we even knew.
He was on the hot seat. We had him on week 3 going into that Wyoming game. We had an interview with him, and we were kind of going, I'd say we're not grilling, but we were kind of like, Jake, are you feeling pressure? Like, that was the kind of the commentary in week 3. He's been on the hot seat. This year, you still got to have that edge if you're Jake. Like, hey, people don't believe in me. That's fine. Let that be the chip on your shoulder. But we all know this is your team. Like, BYU's going to roll, go as far as you're going to take them.
Yep.
And I'm really curious to see what he can do, because if he can be one of the best quarterbacks in the Big 12, BYU can win this league. There's enough talent around him to make that happen. And Aaron Roderick laid out his expectations for Jake this fall.
I don't want to speak for him about what his expectations are, but I know Jake is a super competitor. You guys, that's probably obvious when you watch him play. He's a guy who keeps track of the people who doubt him. He's a guy that keeps track of he wants to be great. And so I don't know what his personal goals are, but I know we've spoken about some very tangible, measurable things that we can do better this year as a team that are going to lead to more production. And, it's like I already mentioned, the completion percentage thing. And we want to play a little better on third down this year. And we think those things are going to help us score more points.
Completion percentage and touchdown to INT ratio, that's all that matters to me. Being better on third down, sure. I'd love for them to be better on third down. I'd love for them to be better in the red zone. You can't put that all on Jake. That's an 11-man thing. But completion percentage, making good decisions, taking care of the football, those are things Jake can control. And to your point on the great quarterback play under Aaron Roderick at BYU, what are the two things Zach had in common and Jaron had in common at the peak of their powers? They took care of the football, and they completed a dang high percentage of their passes. Zach in 2020, it was ridiculous, his completion percentage, above 70%. And Jaron Hall was high 60s in his 2 years as the starting quarterback at BYU. And Jake last year was barely touching 60. So if he can get up to 67, 68, and be 4-1, TD to INT, then this team will be in a position to go to the Big 12 championship game. It's that simple.
57.9% completion rate, 4-3 touchdown to INT.
Not good enough.
So that's got to improve for Jake. And, I think it was interesting, too, in that interview, Roderick notes that Retzlaff completed 70% of his passes. And Jake even told us...
In spring, you mean?
In spring, excuse me, yes, in spring. Thank you for clarifying that. In spring this past March, which is good.
Yes.
You can't assume, though, that's going to translate to against defenses, or that number is going to carry against defenses that you haven't seen day after day. So you'd probably, cut off maybe 7% at least, I would say.
But 63% is not good enough.
Yeah, he's got to be above 65. And the thing is, too, is I put out on KSLSports.com this week my early look at 2020 or 2026 NFL draft prospects, because BYU got shut out in the 2025 draft. Jake, I do think, has to be considered. There were 13 quarterbacks selected in the 2025 draft. Can Jake be one of the 13 best QBs that earns a draftable grade? Completion percentage is huge, and he's got to put up monster numbers for BYU scoring and passing the football. Last year, he was 2,947 yards. I feel like, if memory serves me right, there were some yards that were not accounted for. Maybe it was the Arizona State pass at the end to Chase that would have maybe made up for that. Anyway, I
or
think,
to JoJo?
Yes.
And to Chase.
At the end of the game. But, he's got to put up huge numbers. He can do it. He's got the ability. And I do like the fact that, senior quarterbacks at BYU typically do well. Guys that have had multiple years of experience, not just the one-off guys like Keaton Slovis. I think we kind of try to force ourselves into believing, senior quarterback, that's going to work. I think Jake could be really good. I think he's going in with the mindset like he's got belief in the guys around him. I think the guys in the building believe in him that are the top end offensive guys that have been around him year after year. They see his work ethic. But he is just, if he's consistent, he's on. Like I point to that first half against Baylor last year. If he's that Jake Retzlaff every week, BYU's going to be awesome. And if he's also that guy that has mistakes against Colorado, and I point to that game because BYU could have easily put up a 50-piece on Colorado. They could have blown them out even worse. There were mistakes, so Jake's just got to tighten that up.
How's this for a transition or a segue, Mitch? As we got to get to break. What does Jake and Mitch Harper have in common? They both enjoy the happiest place on earth. Let's get your report, baby, from Disneyland on the other side.